The wind began before dawn, heavy and angry, washing over the cracked walls of the old university buildings. The kind of rain that seemed to cleanse and curse at the same time. Students ran across the country yard with books over their heads, shouting and laughing. But inside the faculty offices, there was silence. Only one name carried weight through the halls that morning: Dr. Mensah. To the new students, he was a legend. To the old ones, he treats. He was a man whose reputation walked into a room long before he did. Tall, neatly dressed, always with that red pen in his hand. A pen that could destroy or resurrect a grade. He was brilliant, yes. His students learned a lot, sometimes through fear, sometimes through flattery. But brilliance is dangerous when mixed with pride. And Dr. Mensah had too much of both. He believed the university was his kingdom, the faculty his empire, and the students his servants. Rumors followed him like shadows, whispers of intimidation, harassment, and unspoken agreements. Many female students had stories they never dared to tell, not because they didn't want to, but because no one would believe them. Some tried before, and the results were the same: silence, suspension, or shame. Mensah had connections that reached beyond the walls of the school. People who owed him favors, people who protected him. But every empire actually meets its rebellion, and hers came quickly. Her name was Zainab Musa. She was in her final year, a bright and humble girl from the north, the kind of student teachers secretly admire. Respectful, focused, and full of hope. Her parents had sacrificed everything for her education. Her father sold his last piece of farmland to send her to school. "Make us proud," he would say, his callous hand resting on her shoulder as she boarded the bus to the city. And she had done just that. Zainab was top of her class, always in the library, always working, never in trouble. Her goal was to graduate with first-class honors, then apply for a scholarship to study abroad. But when the final semester results were posted, she froze. Right next to her name, in bold red letters, was an F. She stared for a minute, unable to breathe. It had to be a mistake. She had rewritten every text, submitted every assignment. How could she fail? Her classmates passed, some barely, but they passed. With trembling hands, she clutched her results slip and walked straight to the faculty office. She waited outside his door for hours. When he finally called her in, she stood nervously by the door. Dr. Mensah didn't even look up at first. He was marking papers, humming softly. Finally, he looked up, his glasses low on his nose. "Zainab Musa?" he said. "Ah, yes, you're one of the bright ones." "Sir," she began softly, "I think there's a mistake with my result in development economics. I..." He raised his hand. "No mistakes in my class. If you failed, it's because you didn't perform. But, sir, I attended every lecture. He leaned back in his chair, his voice low and smooth. You are a smart girl, Zainab. I know effort when I see it, but intelligence isn't everything. Sometimes life requires flexibility. She blinked. I don't understand, sir. He smiled. A slow, knowing smile that made her stomach twist. You will meet me at Grandview Hotel, room 208, Saturday evening. Let's talk about how you can fix this grade. The words hit her like a slap. For a moment, she just stood there. Her throat went dry, her mind blank. He had said it so casually, as though it were a business meeting. She left the office without a word. The corridor felt longer than usual. She walked until she was outside, then stopped and leaned against the wall, fighting tears. The rumors were true. Every ugly story whispered in hostel rooms and hall walls. True. That night, she cried until her pillow was wet. But between the tears, anger began to rise. She had worked too hard to be broken by one man's greed. The next day, she went to the head of the department, hoping for help. The man signed. I avoided her eyes and said, My daughter, you are not the first. I understand how you feel, but Dr. Mensah is connected. You take the course next semester. Don't make enemies you can't fight. That sentence flowed her all day. Don't make enemies you can't fight. But what if she could fight? That night, Zainab sat on her bed, staring at her phone, scrolling, thinking. Her roommate was asleep. Her mind replayed every second in Mensah's office, every look, every word. She couldn't expose him, not without proof. And then, almost like a whisper, a thought came. She remembered her friend Tolu, who worked at the university ICT center. He once mentioned something about hidden cameras for a student project. She quickly messaged him. Tolu, can I borrow one of those mini cameras? I need it for a project. He replied after a few minutes. What kind of project? She hesitated, then typed, Just trust me, please. By the next day, Tolu met her behind the library. He handed her a small button, like camera. It records for 2 hours. He said, just press this twice. He didn't ask questions. He saw something in her eyes, something between fear and fire. Saturday came. The rain fell again, as if nature was watching. Zainab dressed simply, covered herself modestly, and pinned the camera to her blouse. Her hands trembled as she walked into the hotel. The receptionist didn't look up. He had seen this scene too many times. When she knocked, the door opened immediately. Mensah smiled, wearing courage strong enough to mask guilt. Ha, you came, he said. Good girl, sit. She forced a small smile and sat. Zainab began. You are one of the brightest students I have ever taught. You don't deserve to fail, but sometimes you need to understand how things work in this world. I am willing to do anything to pass, sir, she said softly. He smiled wider. Anything? That's the spirit. The camera caught every word, every sound, every move. After 20 minutes of talk, most of it laced without manipulations and arrogance, she stood. I will think about it, she said. He smiled again. Good. Don't take too long. She left, her heart raised as she stepped into the rain. Her phone buzzed. The recording has saved. That night, she sat in her hostel, shaking. But this time, it wasn't fear. It was relief. Proof. Finally, proof. By morning, the video was on the internet. Anonymous upload. Captured. When the lecturer becomes the lesson. Within hours, it went viral. Hashtag 64grade. Trended across Nigeria. Then across Africa. Students reposted. Alumni rag and journalists swarmed the campus. At first, the university denied it. The spokesman called it fabricated. But the video spoke louder than their statements. Mensah's face was clear, his voice undeniable. Students gathered at the school gate, chanting for justice. Placards filled the air. Stop for grades! We want justice! Protect our sisters! For the first time, Dr. Mensah did not show up to class. His office doors were closed. His car gone. Inside the Senate chamber, chaos brewed. Some professors wanted immediate action. Others wanted silence. The vice chancellor called for calm, but it was too late. The Ministry of Education called. The media camped outside the gates. By the third day, the police arrived. Mensah was arrested quietly, escorted through a back gate. But students found out. Phones came up. Cameras flashed. His name flipped the air, followed by chants of mockery. He didn't speak. He couldn't. The once proud man who made others trample now kept his eyes on the ground. But even as justice seemed near, whispers started again. Some said videos were fake. Others claimed it was a setup, that Zainab had been paid to destroy him. His allies were working. Evidence disappeared. Files went missing. One of the witnesses suddenly withdrew her statement. Zainab was summoned to appear before the university panel. When she walked in, the room went silent. Men and women who had ignored similar cases before now stared at her like a problem they couldn't solve. Senior professors cleared his throat. Miss Zainab, do you admit to recording that video? Yes, she said calmly. Who helped you? I can't say. So you are saying you broke the university's privacy policy? She looked straight at him. Sir, are you saying the problem is how I recorded it? Or what you saw in it? No one answered. She stood, turned towards the door and said, if this is how you protect your students, then we are all in danger. She walked out. Outside the sun burned bright over the campus. drying the rain-soaked ground. Students watched her pass, some whispering, some smiling with quiet admiration. But somewhere else, behind the closed doors of the university council, the battle was far from over. Mensah's lawyer was already on television, calling the video a deep fake. His powerful friends were calling in favors. The story that had shaken the nation was now being twisted into politics. And Zainab, young, small, brave Zainab, suddenly found herself standing alone against the system. Her phone wouldn't stop ringing. Some calls were from reporters, others were threats, anonymous voices warning her to let the matter die. But she refused, because for the first time, the silence that had protected monsters for years was broken, and she knew that if she stopped now, it would never be heard again. The university promised to deliver a full report. The investigation dragged. Days turned into weeks, and while the headlines moved on to other scandals, Zainab remained firm, waiting, watching, knowing that sometimes justice moves slower than truth, but truth always catches up.